morning, children. Today we will be studying chapter number 27 in your grammar book, and this is a comprehension passage, William and the Fairy Daffodil. Children, this story is about a very funny incident that took place in the life of William. So William is a boy, and he is a very important character of this comprehension passage. So let's go through this comprehension passage. At the end of this chapter, you will be doing the exercises. "I'm homesick," wailed the little girl. "I want to go home." "Well, go home then," counseled William. "I can't. I am in a play we are doing this afternoon." She burst into sobs again. "No, don't cry. I say, I'll take your part in the play and they'll never know you are gone." "But I'm playing the fairy Daffodil and you don't look like a fairy." "Well, if it looks wrong, can't I cover my face or something?" "I forgot. There is a veil. I'll get you the clothes. There is a cap of yellow daffodil petals and a veil that comes down over your face. You have to hide behind the green bank beside the stage. You wait there until someone calls, 'Fairy Daffodil,' and then you come out and bow and say, 'Here am I. Speak, Queen.' Then you just sit on a stool beside the Queen's throne." So over here in the passage, children, we can see two characters. One, William, and his friend, the little girl. They are having a conversation. What is the conversation about? The conversation is the sad story of this little girl who is missing home. She wants to go home. It's been a long day, she's missing her house, she's homesick, and she wants to go back home. So the difficulty over here is she can't go home because she's a part of a play, a drama, okay? And she is the fairy Daffodil in it, okay? So over here, the friend, that is William, wanted to help her out because she was crying, she was sobbing, she was really sad. So William suggested that he will take the part of the little girl. Now the little girl was very hesitant. She said, "You can't play the part because it's a fairy role. It's the role of a fairy. How can you be a fairy?" So he said that maybe I can cover my face. And listening to this, the little girl remembered that yes, they have to wear a veil. Children, veil is a piece of cloth which covers the face. It is usually made up of net. So your face is not very clear. Your face looks very blurred because you are behind a netted cloth. Okay, so that is the costume of the little girl. She's a fairy daffodil. She has to wear the fairy's costume. Along with that, she has to cover her face with the veil. Along with that, she had a headgear. She had a cap with petals on top of it, so that she looks like a fairy who's a daffodil. So she looked like a fairy daffodil. So at this thought, they decided that they will help. She will take the help of William. And she would, she briefed him that what he has to do in the play. Because William has not practiced in the play. Who has practiced in the play? The little girl has practiced in the play. So she told, "My dialogue is, here am I. Speak, Queen." So this is the only dialogue Fairy Daffodil has to say. So William is now supposed to say, "Here I am. Speak, Queen." He's supposed to say this. And when is he supposed to say this? When somebody will call out, Fairy Daffodil. So somebody will call out to the Fairy Daffodil, Fairy Daffodil, and William has to come on stage and say, here I am, speak, Queen. So this is the part, and after saying this dialogue, he's supposed to go back and just sit on a stool beside the Queen's throne. So the part is well explained by the little girl, and the little girl goes home. The guests swarmed into the school hall. In the middle of the second row sat William's father and mother, Mr. and Mrs. Brown. The curtain rose. Very pretty, said Mrs. Brown. Isn't it? Said the lady next to her. Well, I must say, admitted Mrs. Brown, I like to get right away from home sometimes because really at home I'm on pins the whole time, not knowing whatever William's going to do next. At a place like this, I feel safe. It's nice to be anywhere I know that William can't suddenly rise up before my eyes doing something awful. So now the scene is of the hall. Where the stage is there, where the audience will be sitting and having a look at the play. So in the hall, all the guests swarmed in. Swarmed in meaning children. They all moved in a big crowd like the bees. They moved in together into the hall. And in the second row of the hall, who was sitting? William's father and mother. Who is William? William is the boy who's now going to play the part of Fairy Daffodil. Okay, it's very weird for a boy to suddenly take up this role. So it is going to be a big surprise for William's father and mother. Who are William's father and mother? Mr. and Mrs. Brown, and they have come to enjoy the play at school. They are very happy. They've come to take a break. Why they want to take a break? They want to take a break because William was very, very naughty and he used to do something or the other, and Mrs. Brown used to always be on pins. On pins meaning children, always cautious, always nervous, always on the foot that something wrong is going to happen, that something or the other William will be doing that will make the scenario very awful, very notorious and very troublesome, and she didn't feel safe. But in a place like this, she felt very safe because William was nowhere. She assumed that her boy is nowhere. She's going to have a nice time looking at the play. And she started exchanging a few words with the person sitting next to her. She said, what a beautiful place. It's so pretty. And the person next to her, the lady said, isn't it? It's so nice. They were both enjoying the conversation. Okay? And she even shared the fact that she was feeling very nice after a long time getting away from home, because at home she used to do work, take care of William troubling her. She was feeling nice and good over here. Fairy Daffodil, called the fairy herald on the stage. A figure arose from behind a leafy barrier, took an ungraceful step forward, tripped over the leafy barrier and crashed to earth, leafy barrier and all. The yellow headgear rolled off onto the floor, revealing a tousled head over a stern earth-streaked, freckled face. So over here happened a very, very unfortunate incident, children. William was supposed to come on stage as soon as he was called out to Fairy Daffodil, and William would come on stage. But There was an obstacle. There was a barrier over there. A barrier is a kind of a fence, children, which is placed for kind of stopping entry, or maybe using it as a prop on stage. So there was a leafy barrier with lot of leaves. There was a barrier placed on stage, and William was behind the barrier. He had to nicely move away from the barrier and reach the stage. But what he did was, he took one very ungraceful step. He did not walk properly, and he tripped. He fell down, and along with him came down the leafy barrier. Everything crashed to the floor. Even his headgear came on the floor. And his headgear had the veil, which was covering his face. So everybody could see, okay, here it is. It's a boy. It's William, and he's taken a very ungraceful step. He's fallen to the ground, and everybody could see him. Everybody could see that, his hair were all messed up, tousled, messed up hair, untidy hair, freckled face. Freckled means, children, brown spots on the face. This is because of exposure to the sun. Most of the time, our skin develops these brown spots. So everybody could distinguish his face very easily because it was now visible to the audience. "What's your boy like?" said Mrs. Brown's neighbor. But Mrs. Brown's smile had faded. Her face had become a mask of horror. Her mouth had dropped open. Her neighbor followed her eyes to the stage. The strange apparition, which in no way disconcerted by the accident with the leafy barrier. It did not even trouble to recover its headgear. It stood in the middle of the stage and said loudly and ferociously, "Here I am." So now that William was on stage, he was not at all bothered. He was disconcerted. He was not at all getting troubled by the thought that he had fallen on the stage. His headgear is out. Everybody is looking at him. He was not at all bothered. He was very at ease. He did not even pick up his headgear to wear it again. So by the accident with the leafy barrier, it did not even trouble him. He did not even recover the headgear. The only people shocked over here is the audience. Mrs. Brown's neighbor was like, "How does your boy look?" Because she understood maybe this is Mrs. Brown's son. And Mrs. Brown's face had a mask of horror. She was terrified. She was horrified. She was scared. How come her son reached on stage? So it did not trouble to recover its headgear. It stood there in the middle of the stage and said loudly and ferociously, "Here I am." Do you think William is scared over here, children? Not at all. Full of confidence, full of, ease, full of complete content about whatever he's done. He's helped his friend. He's not bothered how he's helped out. And he's very ferocious, brave, courageous. He's standing there saying his dialogue, "Here I am." There was a dead silence. Fairy Bluebell, who stood near, inspired by a gallant determination to carry on in spite of all disasters, prompted, "Speak." William looked at her haughtily. I've just spoken," he said. So over here, children, first there was a silence, and then Fairy Bluebell was standing next to the Queen and next to the Fairy Daffodil, that is William. She prompted, "Say, speak." She said, "Speak." So William got angry. William haughtily, very angrily, he replied, "I've already spoken. What are you telling me to speak? I've already spoken." So Fairy Bluebell is trying to help over here, because after this disaster, Fairy Daffodil, that is William, had so much confidence still that, in spite of the disaster, there was a gallant determination. Gallant meaning, children, brave, courageous, confident. Who is the courageous and confident character over here? William. Is the audience courageous right now? The audience is shocked. Mr. and Mrs. Brown are surprised, horrified. The only person courageous right now is William. He's nicely standing over there. I have just spoke. Speak, Queen, hissed Bluebell desperately. It's not my turn, hissed the Queen back. Bluebell stamped. Say, speak, Queen, she said to William. So that's the story over here. Over here, Fairy Bluebell is trying to help. She reminded the dialogue, speak, Queen. So the Queen got annoyed now. The Queen said that it's not my dialogue. So Fairy Bluebell said, she stamped her feet. She, hit her feet on the ground and said that I'm not telling you. I'm telling Fairy Daffodil. I'm telling William to say her dialogue, speak, Queen. You remember the little girl had told the dialogue that I'm here. Speak, Queen. So William forgot his dialogue. He only said, I'm here. He forgot to say, speak, Queen. So Fairy Bluebell was trying to hiss and softly speak the dialogue, speak, Queen, to William. She said to William. Oh, said William, I'm sorry, I forgot that bit. I forgot there was something else. Speak, Queen. That's all. Anyway, isn't it? Where's the stool? He looked round, then calmly sat down on the stool, sublimely aware of actors and audience completely paralyzed around him. So over here, William is still very confident. He said, oh, did I forget something? Oh, yes, I'm supposed to say, I'm sorry. And then he's speaking all this on the stage. He should have right away only told his dialogue, speak, Queen. But instead of that, he blabbered everything else, children. He spoke a lot over there on the stage, in front of the audience, in front of his co-actors. He said, am I supposed to say this even? I forgot. I'm sorry. Speak, Queen. Anything else to be said? So he was talking over there as if it was a practice session going on, and everybody else got paralyzed. Children, what is the meaning of paralyzed? Not having any movement, completely shocked, completely frozen. All the audience who around him was paralyzed. Everyone saw his confidence, that he sublimely unaware of actors. He was very gracious. He sat on the stool, not bothered that everybody is looking at him. Slowly, very slowly, the power of speech returned to Mrs. Brown. Her horror-stricken eyes left the stage. She clasped her husband's arm. John, she said hysterically. It's William. Mr. Brown too had gazed open-mouthed at this wholly unexpected apparition of his son. Then he recovered himself. So over here, the speechless parents who were so shock-stricken, they were so shocked children, they were unable to speak, they were unable to see anything besides the stage. Suddenly Mrs. Brown gained the courage, held her husband, clasped her husband, held the arm of her husband and say, it's William. So, you can see that's her son over there. And Mr. Brown had to gazed mean looked very carefully, open-mouthed, shocked completely, alarmed at this wholly unexpected apparition. Apparition means, children, that you see something strange, a strange sight, maybe a ghost, maybe something very weird which you don't see in usual. So, the strange sight which they saw of their son doing something weird on the stage, and he recovered himself. Nonsense, my dear, he said firmly. Never seen the boy before. Do you hear? We've never seen the boy before. But we have, John, she said. It's William. Who's William? Said Mr. Brown wildly. There isn't any William. Temporarily, I have disowned him. I have disowned him until we meet again under the shelter of our own roof. I don't know how he got here or what he is going to do, and I don't care. I tell you, I have disowned him. So now there is a very serious conversation between Mr. and Mrs. Brown. They are feeling very embarrassed because everybody knows they are Mr. and Mrs. Brown. They know William, and then and there he told that I don't know him. Mrs. Brown reminded him that it's our son, William. He said, I don't know any William. We will talk to him under our roof in our house. Till that time, I don't know him. I disown him. Disown him, children? I don't own him as my son. I don't recognize him. I don't think him to be my son. And he completely, called it nonsense because he was feeling so sad. He was feeling very disheartened. He called it out complete nonsense, and he said that I've not seen this boy, I've never met him before, and I don't know who's William. He was very wild and angry. There isn't any William for now. Temporarily means for now. Maybe I will remember him in the house under our roof, but right now I don't know him and I disown him completely. Oh, John, wailed Mrs. Brown. Isn't it awful? The play dragged on, but no one took any further interest in the play. The whole interest of the audience was concentrated on the curious apparition, inadequately clothed in yellow butter muslin, who had taken its seat at the foot of the throne. The apparition itself seemed unaware that it was attracting any attention. It sat down and gazed around it, stern, bored, contemplative. Then a light as it at some happy memory came into his face. It pulled up the butter muslin to its waist, revealing muddy boots, muddy legs, and muddy trousers, plunged its hand into its pocket, and brought out a nut, which it proceeded to crack with much facial contortion and bared teeth. So over here, the entire attraction is none other than William. Whether it is his parents or whether the audience, whether the actors, everybody was looking at William. The play continued, children. The play went on, but everybody only looked at William. Why? Over here, Mrs. Brown was wailing. She was feeling so sad. It is so awful. Awful meaning, children, so bad, so sad, so disheartening. The play dragged on. The play went on, but no one took further interest in the play. Everybody was only interested on the curious apparition, curious, weird appearance. Who was that weird sight? Who was that strange sight? William. So they were only interested in the curious apparition, inadequately clothed. So this apparition was wearing something that was not meant to be worn. That was something smaller in size, or maybe something different, inadequately worn. He was not completely covered. A shorter costume he had because he had taken from the little girl, and it turned out to be little for him. So it was inadequate. It was not sufficient. There was something more required. Okay, because his headgear had also fallen, so he was not completely dressed. It was inadequate. It was not adequate. It was not complete. In the yellow butter muslin, who had taken its seat at the foot of the throne, the apparition itself seemed unaware. William was completely unaware, children. He was very contented, happy. He was sitting there, now getting bored. He was getting stern, bored, and contemptuous. Now he's sitting over there, bored, thinking what to do, pondering over, contemplating over things, what to do. He's getting bored and he's disinterested in the play. He wanted to do it for the little girl, otherwise he was just not interested in it. And suddenly he got a nice thought. Then a light as at some happy memory came into its face. He remembered about something. He remembered, and it pulled up the butter muslin to its waist. He pulled up his dress, children, and from his pocket, from his, he was all muddy pants, muddy boots, muddy shoes, everything, muddy legs. Everybody could see that sight, children, that he was so, filthy, muddy, and inadequately dressed, doing doing something weird on stage and putting his hand in his pocket to take out a nut. He took out a nut to crack it open and eat it right on stage over there. And he plunged its hand into the pocket, brought out a nut, and then with contortion, with twisting his face, when you're breaking a nut with your, if you're breaking a walnut or breaking a nut with your maybe pistachio, if you're breaking with your mouth, children, you make weird faces, twist your muscles, right children? So he was breaking it with the mouth, and everybody could see his teeth, everybody could see him pulling his dress up, everybody could see all that, his facial contortion, and they could see nothing else. They were just not interested in the play. They were only looking at this weird apparition. At this point, the headmistress entered by the door at the back of the hall. Her face wore a proud smile. Her eyes wandered slowly to the stage. The proud smile dropped from her face. A look of startled horror succeeded it. The fairy Daffodil had cracked the nut and was proceeding with every appearance of concentration and satisfaction to extract the edible part of it. With the air of one dashing to a heroic rescue, the headmistress plunged up the hall and drew the curtain. Then, purple with rage, she plunged behind the curtain and made a grab at the fairy Daffodil. "What is the meaning of this, you wicked boy?" she said. Now the headmistress came into the hall, and she was so happy, so proud at this lovely event in her school, and she was smiling when her smile suddenly disappeared, dropped down, when she saw the stage, when she saw the fairy Daffodil, and she saw that the fairy Daffodil has opened the nut and now is taking out the edible part, that is the inside part of the nut. She's taking out the nut and eating it. And she was so annoyed. She was purple with rage. She ran, she plunged to the hall. She had a big, huge jump and went to the curtains, got hold of the curtains, drew the curtains, went behind the curtains and grabbed the fairy Daffodil and said, "What is the meaning of this, you wicked boy?" Why did she call him wicked? She called him wicked because for her, he had spoiled the show. He had been notorious in completely destroying the event of the school. The fairy Daffodil abandoned his half-eaten nut, dodged what he rightly suspected to be an avenging hand and fled. "Catch him!" panted the headmistress. "Catch that boy!" The entire cast, followed by the entire staff, dashed after William and pursued him in a body. Gathering up his yellow robe, William fled like an arrow from a bow out of a door at the back of the hall, across the garden towards the front gate. So that's the end of the story, children. As the headmistress got hold of the fairy Daffodil understood that he is in trouble. He understood that it was an avenging hand. Avenging means that now the way the headmistress is holding me, it means she's going to punish me. So I have to escape, avenging, taking revenge with me as if I've done something wrong. So he left his nut over there and he escaped from there, children. He suspected the avenging hand and fled. And then the headmistress was like, "Catch him." So the entire crew went running, from the actors to the staff, the teachers, and everyone over there went in a complete body to chase William. And he picked up his yellow robe, went out of the curtains, right through the hall, to the garden, to the front gate, and escaped as we, hit an arrow from a bow, children. That fast he fled because he knew he is in trouble. So that is one very funny, very notorious incident of William. He was extremely naughty, and over here he made everyone skip a heartbeat. So everybody was shocked. Everybody didn't expect William to do that day. Even the headmistress was shocked, the kids were shocked, the co-actors, the staff, the parents, everybody had a very, very weird experience, though William enjoyed his nut. So children, that's the comprehension. I will be sending you the message with regard to which exercises of the comprehension you have to attempt in your language notebook. I hope you enjoyed the story, children. Have a nice day. Thank you, children.